I'm sitting here with Idan Presser from Composition magazine in beautiful Lisbon, talking to Marina Gurevich and Zurab Kiknalidze. Hello.
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 Marina is the product manager for consumer DSLR in Nikon, and Zurab is the product manager for lenses and software and accessories. Hello to you both. Let's start with basically a user experience question. You have been using the two cameras, the Coolpix A and the Nikon D7100 with us for the past 3 days. Marina, what would you say is your favorite feature on the D7100?
My favorite feature on this camera is the 1.3x crop. Because it's just a new function and it's just one button, but it gives you so many nice opportunities. So you can have the full frame coverage, so the tracking, focus tracking is really perfect, so you can track the subject from one edge to the other, so it's perfect. It also gives you more speed, up to 7 frames per second, so one more. And you get a telephoto effect, basically. With every lens you can zoom a bit more. So just one button, but a lot of different functions. I like it.
Okay, and Zurab, what is your favorite feature on the Coolpix A?
Well, Coolpix A, actually, being not my own product, so to say, I'm at the same time probably one of the biggest fans of this product due to the fact that I'm an enthusiast photographer myself. There is not a single feature I can mention, it's just a combination of them all. It's a combination of the X sensor, it's the combination of the prime 28mm fast lens. It's a combination of the very user-friendly GUI user interface, and the final image is what really it comes down to. And I think when I personally saw the image quality, a combination of the lens and sensor, I can't say that today we could have done any better.
Okay. Let's move to more technical questions. Basically in any image editing software or even editing viewing software, say Photoshop or even the more basic Microsoft viewer in Windows, you have a percentage of the image, of the zoom image. For example, if you are inside the image to 50%, you see 50%, or 100%, so you know where you are. This is something that you can't find in any camera that I know of. Is this feature something that you can maybe add in the future in firmware or in future cameras?
Yeah, that's a logical request. Well, basically what we do, we always collect the feedback from all the users and from professional and VMPS, etc., and then try to prioritize them. So far I did not hear a lot of this request, but obviously everyone who is looking at the software is used to that, so we'll consider.
Okay, let's talk about buffer size of the D7100. I think that the most significant feature that users have been asking us to add or asking, you know, to improve is the buffer size, especially compared to the D300S. Now, what's the limiting factor here? Are we talking about price, adding more RAM memory to the camera, or is it something else?
Yeah, I think to answer your question, I need to tell you a bit about the positioning or where the camera is actually placed. So if you talk about this 300S, that's a professional camera. That's a DX camera dedicated for professional users. If you talk about D7100, it's enthusiast camera dedicated to enthusiast users. And even though it has so many powerful functions that basically many people consider that it's almost a pro, that's why we get some kind of questions about the buffer size, because it's so advanced already, then you want even more, basically. In that sense, it's not a D300S successor, so you cannot directly compare it to that. And as I said, there are so many functions already in this camera, so to be able to make it an enthusiast camera, meaning also enthusiast price, and be placed in that segment, yeah, we cannot include just every possible feature there is in the professional market.
So basically, if you add more RAM or more buffer, you would basically add to the cost of the camera.
It will, yeah, we cannot actually disclose the costs, but it will complicate the R&D process in a way. So it will take, it could also take more development time, for example.
Okay. A question that we got from one of our users, will we see any significant or even any difference at all between using a 45 megabyte per second SD card versus the fastest that is currently on the market, which is 95% megabyte per second card on the D7100?
Yeah, you will see the difference, but you need to to take into account that that does not affect the buffer size itself, but that's how fast the card reads out the buffer. So if you're taking a lot of shots, then that will help. Yeah.
Okay.
And also outside the camera, how fast your computer will be able to download the cards.
Yeah, obviously it's not something of the camera itself, but it's important otherwise. I think that you mentioned it before, but basically in your position, in Nikon position, the D7100 is basically not a replacement for the D300S. It's a different line of cameras, which is below. I'm not sure how.
Yeah, well, the best way to understand is basically that we are extending the D7000 series. Okay. Because D7000 still remains on the market. It continues to be sold, and then we extend this enthusiast range of the camera with a more advanced camera. And it's targeted to a quite wide spectrum of users, mostly enthusiast users. So it's more advanced than D7000, but it's not positioned as a professional camera like D300S.
And the D300S is still basically currently on the line of cameras for Nikon, right?
Yeah, D300S is also still in the lineup.
Okay. Moving to accessory-related question. The current WU1A or 1B, which is the small, tiny, I think, Wi-Fi adapter, which you can use on basically almost the entire new line of Nikon cameras, other than the D4 D800. Basically the functionality is very basic. I'm talking about the application, not the hardware. You can shoot and either upload it to the web or do something with the image, but you can't control any aspect of the camera. Are you working on a more advanced feature or more advanced application for this adapter? And maybe if you can say something about it, maybe a paid app, for example?
Yeah, sure. We do realize that we did offer in the beginning a quite basic, but at the same time very useful functionality. We wanted the users to be able to indeed simply be able to transfer the images from their camera into their smart device, which is extremely capable device on its own, and therefore users are able to accomplish many tasks on their Android or iOS enabled devices. That is not to say that we need to stop there, and I agree with you. Of course, this was the very first step. We should not and will not stop development in that respect. There are some technical implications. As you know, we do have two types of adapters, WU1A and B, the difference being in a connector size. However, both of them are compatible with numerous cameras. Therefore, for us it would be at the moment quite challenging to make a common interface that would be able to control every camera model, starting from Coolpix up to more advanced cameras, like for example we have it and using it with D7100. That is not to say that we don't realize the need for that, and we will keep working to develop more useful.
Alternatively, or maybe as well as your own development, maybe you can think about releasing an API so third-party users or companies can develop their own application for this.
It's actually a very interesting concept, and obviously does have the benefits, as we can see in other devices or in other industries. However, it does have some limitations and also has some risks. Example, when we are launching any Nikon product, we would like to stand 100% behind its quality, behind its functionality. That means that we ourselves are putting in the hardware as well as software. By allowing third parties to modify that, we're taking the risk that the camera, after modification, does not comply with our high standards. Now, of course, there's other ways around it, as you suggested, maybe to control what kind of. However, you should also, I think, would agree that it's a complicated process,
yes,
for which we would need to set up a completely different workflow. I think we're coming close to that with maybe launch like of the cameras like Coolpix A 800 because it's an Android-based camera, and as you know, Android platform in itself already is open and therefore allows for the applications. Now, that is not to say that we're going to develop next DSLR as the Android platform, but technology and innovation does not stop, so we're definitely looking into the new ways to improve the user experience.
Okay. Marina, a question for you, I think. Why did you change the order of the plus and minus buttons on your new line of cameras?
I'm happy you noticed, because we keep improving the ergonomics and the layout of the buttons, and we keep taking the user feedback on this. And the buttons were changed last year. I think with the D7200, yeah, and then it changed on all the cameras. So because of the user feedback and our improvement.
I like the new layout.
Yeah, and in the 7100 we even have a new I button, so we have a bit more change in the layout of the buttons.
It's very useful. We tried it.
Yes.
Okay, next question. In terms of HDR, the D7100 has a built-in HDR feature. We got several reports from users who told us that the D7100 HDR feature doesn't have auto-align feature. Is it something that you're aware of? What can you say about this?
Well, the way how Nikon views HDR is basically it's meant to be for stationary subjects. So in that case you don't really need auto-align function. So if your subject is not perfectly still, then you can also use active delighting or other features that we have.
Okay, this is I think a question for Zurab. What caused the delay for the 800mm lens, the release? I think it was delayed by a month or something like that. Do you have?
A delay? Well, there was actually the sales start delayed.
Yeah, I think.
It was delayed in Japan. It's already on the market in Europe.
Ah, okay.
Yes.
So
it was
no delay.
Yeah, actually, there is no, let's say, any technical implications. It's simply that we're really overwhelmed by the demand. I think when we were making plans for this lens, it has by far exceeded our most optimistic expectations. The lens has been tested in the last year big sporting events. And it has been tested as well at the Pope inauguration this year. Actually, nickname of the lens is a Pope lens. Therefore, it was the place to be for that lens this year. And the response was so overwhelming that I think, even though it is not really a budget lens, so to say, it is selling like one at the moment almost.
Okay, going back to the Coolpix A, we were wondering why did you choose the 18mm focal length?
Okay.
Because many street photographers prefer the 35 equivalent focal length, and this is quite wide.
Yeah. Well, again, I'm not a product manager of Coolpix A. However, I can answer this question, I think, as we are quite well involved in several product developments. Well, first of all, the 18, as you know, translates 1:1 and the 35mm equivalent to 27. So we would like to think of it more as 28, which is a traditional focal length. And that really is one of the main answers. We have developed this as a street and more or less reportage sort of camera. And therefore we chose to take prime fixed focal length for that. And there are some debates whether or not that should have been 28 or 35, and the decision to go 28 is simply because it is still just as classic as 35 or 50, but 50 would be of course very limiting as a general purpose prime. And 28 we feel that just by being wider it gives you more opportunities to shoot and take in the scene as you want. There is also, of course, opportunity to crop, which not to say that it will maintain the perspective, etc. There is a huge benefit in maintaining native 35mm focal length, but after some discussions and after some evaluation of the market, it was obvious for us that 28 had just a slight edge over other focal length.
Wonderful. And going back to the 7100, about the Gorilla Glass or the Gorilla Glass equivalent option. In earlier cameras, you produced the cameras with a protection screen, and now this one is without a protection screen. Can we get an explanation for that?
Why actually you changed it? I mean, why did you remove the protective screen?
Well, actually that's an improvement because our LCD screen has so much improved that would be waste of a screen to put a protector on it, you know, and to lose all the image quality that you get on the LCD screen. And well, we cannot actually disclose the technology that we are using, but it's pretty strong, and I think we can...
No, actually, it's a good question, because this is something that when the camera was developed and we were sent samples, we also have noticed the lack of plastic protection. So one of, because let's say the material used in the screen as European product management is not the very first point in the specs that we get. So before going in depth into every material and every button material that we used, out of curiosity, I just grabbed my keys and literally dragged it across the screen, and there was not a single spec. And I invited, I don't want to encourage anybody to do that. We were able to test this, but if you trust my word, then I think you don't have to expect any major level of damage to your screen. It's very, very sturdy.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank
You're welcome.